Coby White returned a couple of days early for the Chicago Bulls, but yet the results weren't good yet. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about why the Bulls are stuck right where they started and how Tre Jones may be one of the most important Bulls moving forward in a couple of different ways. We'll talk about that. Talk about the Bulls being below 500 and what stuck out about this recent 10-game stretch about the Chicago Bulls. All that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize. But more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. So Coby White returned yesterday against the Boston Celtics. He was 2 days ahead of his 7-day reevaluation timeline for whatever that's worth to get back on the basketball court. It was announced earlier in the day that he was upgraded from questionable to probable. The day before, he was upgraded to questionable. So, it looked like things were going to go pretty well for Coby. Now, the results on the basketball court weren't great at all. Coby White had almost as many turnovers as points, 4 and 5, which, it is there. He's on that 25-minute restriction. Overall, just Coby wasn't really effective. Now, the Chicago Bulls as a whole in that time weren't really effective. He was 2 of 7 from the field, 1 of 5 from three-point range. Now, he did chip in 6 assists and 3 rebounds, but that was to go along with the 4 turnovers that Coby White had as well. It just wasn't a good outing for Coby. Now, of course, you come back from a hamstring injury. It's there. Coby White talked about it after the game. He said, the injuries and the starts and stops, those type of things have really made it hard for him to catch a rhythm so far this season. And that's really evident, right? This is Coby White's, this is Coby White's worst three-point shooting season of his career. He's shooting the ball 32% from the field. He's never shot anything less than 35%, and it's bad. And, Coby, that three-point shot, he's not discovered yet. Now, one of the things that is working for Coby is getting to the free throw line the most of his NBA career at 6 free throw attempts per game, which is, it's good. That's one of the things I wanted to see from Coby White is get to the free throw line a little bit more. If that shot starts falling, Coby White's probably going to look a lot better. When that three ball starts falling for him. But it's fair to start asking if it's going to start falling for him, considering we're a large chunk of the way through the season now. For Coby, he's only played 16 games so far this season. So over those 16 games, it may be hard. Like keep in mind he had another hamstring injury earlier as well that forced him to miss a game and those type of stuff. So hopefully Coby's going to find the rhythm sooner rather than later. Regardless of how you view Coby, you should want him to find his rhythm. Whether you want him to be traded or you want the Bulls to lock him in long term, whatever it is, you should want Coby to find his rhythm. It's going to help facilitate that. There's been some Bulls fans that say things like, "Oh, we can get some unprotected first for Coby XYZ." You're not getting none of that if Coby doesn't start playing better and shooting the ball better. And in that case, like the Bulls are probably not going to let the asset walk away for nothing. So then they're probably going to pay him. And if you do want to see him re-sign, you should want him to play better regardless. But like I said, 16 game sample size for Coby White. The Bulls, are what I think they're 8-9 in this time there. So 17 game sample size. But the Bulls are 8-9 in his time there. The same win percentage that the Bulls have when Coby White's not out there. Everybody who talks about Coby and likes to say the thing like, "Oh, well, Coby White's just to blame." It's a lot more going on with the Bulls than just Coby White, right? Like, I get it. At this point, regardless of how you want to see Coby White, whatever you want to see happen, that's fine, right? It's not even about that anymore as far as just will you want to see Coby be traded or not. But the fact of the matter is, anybody who's just blaming what the Bulls play on Coby, like I said many times before, those were people that already had that determination made up when the Bulls started off decently at the start of the season. And then when Coby White came back, they were always going to just blame it on whether Coby White was playing or not, which those numbers don't bore out well at all. Like if you look at it analytically and statistically, it's about the same. The Bulls actually have a better win percentage when Coby White's on the floor, so take that for what you will, than what they have on the season. So, take that, all the things for what you will there, but there's just no doubt about it. Coby White needs to be better. So regardless of any of that, Coby has to be a better player. and he needs to play better for the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls can only, weather the storm so much. This was supposed to be the season where Coby came in and had an opportunity to be the go-to scorer, and so far he's not lived up to that. Like, yeah, he was averaging over 20 points per game at one point in the season when he first came back, and that's great, right? Like, the averages are cool, but it's also how you get that. And Coby has to be a much more efficient player. We need to be a much more efficient offense overall, but Coby definitely needs to be more efficient. And we'll see how those things work out for Coby as, the season goes on and how it bores out for Coby. But, Coby getting back out there early. Keep in mind, Zach Collins is supposed to be a few days after Coby White. Now, he was on a 10-day timeline. Just because Coby returned early doesn't mean Zach Collins will. But we should get Zach Collins back here in the next 3 to 4 days. And then that should, then at that point, we're probably about another 5 days away or so from Josh Giddey making his return. Now, hopefully, the Bulls don't get any more injuries in that time. Jalen Smith is in the concussion protocol. So once he clears that, he'll be able to return. There's no strict timeline on that, but hopefully the Bulls get back sooner rather than later, and we'll see how that works out for them. But with that said, the Bulls find themselves right back 2 games below 500, right? The Bulls are 6-4 in their last 10 games. When you look at the teams they've beat over that stretch, they've beaten the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Atlanta Hawks twice, the Philadelphia 76ers, the New Orleans Pelicans, and the Orlando Magic. Those are the teams that they've beaten over the stretch. And that's a nice mix of teams. Of course, the Cleveland Cavaliers are a championship contending team, no doubt about it. Well, they came into the season expecting to be a championship contending team. I don't know if I can necessarily say that they still are a championship contending team because they haven't got their shit together yet either, right? So you got to look at that one. But then you look at Philly. Philly is one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. And Tyrese Maxey's an MVP caliber player and candidate this season. So you got to look at that part of it. Atlanta sits decently in the season. I think their problem's Trey Young. They're probably going to be looking to move on from Trey as well. And then the New Orleans Pelicans has had our number, and the Orlando Magic is still a really good team in the East. Then when you flip that and look at the Bulls' losses, it hasn't always just been against the bad teams, right? They have losses against Milwaukee, Minnesota, and Boston, all legitimate teams in their respective conferences. And then you have a loss against Charlotte, which, again, it's the matchup thing, those type of things. So the Bulls sit in a mixed bag right now, right? Like we talked about on yesterday's episode, how the Bulls have a better record against winning teams than they do against losing teams. They're the only team in the NBA to have that. With yesterday's loss, they become 500 against teams above 500, but still, nonetheless, still a better record against teams, winning teams than losing teams, which is still an odd thing for the Chicago Bulls, but that shouldn't surprise anybody, right? But so what has improved over this stretch for the Bulls? A couple of things have, right? The Bulls have had a net negative rating over those 10 games. They're negative 1.9 over those 10 games, despite having a winning record at 6-4. They're 15th in offensive rating, 23rd in defensive rating over that time, which, okay, it is what it is there. At one point, the Bulls had one of the best offenses in the league. They were top 5 offensively, and we have injuries. We've been missing a lot of players over that stretch and stuff like that, so I'm not going to necessarily hold that against them. But you want to see them be better, especially if they're going to be that bad defensively. 23rd defensive rating in the league over that stretch isn't great. You're talking about when we go back to the Bulls' last 5-game winning streak, they actually had a top 8 defensive rating and a top 10 offense as well. And when you play that when you get that many wins, usually you're going to be up there, right? That 150-something game against the Atlanta Hawks helps and hurts that as well, right? But the things that the Bulls have done efficiently, they've been 11th in true shooting percentage, which is really good at 58.7% as a team. They're 3rd in assists, only 7th in turnover rate, which is really good. They were only turning the ball over 12.9% of the time, which is a lot lower than where they were on the season. And they're 9th in rebounding as well, which is really good. Like, this is a Bulls team that we've all seen. Like, they need to be better, right? As far as rebounding, that's something that's definitely has stood out about this team a lot, is the fact that they have not rebounded the ball well at all against teams, but they've been a lot better over this 10-game stretch of rebounding. Again, one of the best rebounding teams in the league. They're 3rd in defensive rebounding, and actually 25th in offensive rebounding, which is kind of an invert of what they were at the start of the season, where they were giving up so many second chance points and opportunities. Keep in mind, the Boston Celtics cooked them last night, so they probably would be number 1 or number 2 if it wasn't for that Boston Celtics game last night, where the Celtics had, in the first half of that game, almost as many offensive rebounds as the Bulls had total rebounds. So that definitely, affects that. But the Bulls have been a better rebounding team as well. The 3-point rate, they're 6th in 3-point attempt rate, which I take is not a good thing. I don't like that for this team. over that stretch. I think they're taking way too many three-pointers. They're settling for too many threes, and that gets us to the things that have not been good for the Chicago Bulls. And a lot of it is going to come down to the three-point shot, right? So when you look at the things that are the biggest concerns for the Bulls right now, 45% of the Chicago Bulls shot attempts are three-pointers, yet they aren't hitting them at a nearly good rate, right? They're shooting the ball 34% on above-the-break threes and 40% from corner threes. Neither one of those numbers are really good numbers. Now, some of them aren't bad, right? So, for example, the Bulls above-the-break three-point percentage puts them at 20th in the NBA. That's not good. That's not good. You're hitting it at a 33.7% field goal percentage on the above-the-break threes. That's just not good, right? And then you look at the corner three. They're shooting that at a 40.2% rate, which is about 10th in the NBA. But again, that's a low part of it'd be different if a lot of the Bulls threes were corner threes, which are really high quality threes, but they're not good in that. They are in the top 10 as far as percentage, so that's decent. But when you look at the rate they're taking it at the 5th highest rate in the NBA, and that's just you just want to see it better than that. Same thing with the above the break threes. They're taking that at the 14th highest rate in the league as far as just above the break threes, and they're only shooting that as the 20th best rate. You have to be better than that if you're going to take that volume of three-point shots, which leads us to the midi, right? The Chicago Bulls are dead last in the NBA at mid-range shot attempts. Now, we've talked a lot about this recently, how Billy Donovan has basically eliminated the mid-range shot from the Chicago Bulls shot diet. We are 30th in the NBA, taking 4.7% of our shots are coming from there. But get this, we're hitting it at an almost 50% rate. 48.8% we're hitting on mid-range shots. There is nothing that points towards why the Bulls should be eliminating the mid-range shot completely. Like that's a problem with this, right? Now, with that said, right, well, I'll hold off. There's some positives in their shot diet. We'll get into that. But the Bulls just have to be better. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Bulls have to be a better shooting team. And I do think a lot of that is how they get into rhythm, right? When you eliminate the mid-range shot completely, that's a shot that could get you in rhythm to where you can start hitting your three ball better. And that's just not good. And the Bulls have to be better at that. And to highlight that, right? I want to focus on this. The Bulls are second in the league at shots taken in the restricted area, right? Which I didn't expect that to be there, right? The Bulls are taking 35.5% of their shots in the restricted area, which is actually the second highest in the NBA. The problem is that the Bulls are hitting that at the 28th best percentage in the NBA. And now they're hitting it at above 60%, but that's not a good number when you're that close to the basket, right? So what does that tell me? That tells me that either we are not creating enough, well, the defense is packing it in. So the defense is prepared for us to either take the three or they're packing it in. They're playing us for the drive. So they're playing us to come to take shots at the rim. And while our frequencies is really good there, our success rate is not good there because we don't take the mid-range shots. As soon as a team sees the Chicago Bulls cutting, they know, they're not going to stop for a midi. They're just going to come. They're going to come to the rim. So, and I had been somebody that was complaining that we don't attack the rim enough. In the restricted area, we were second highest there. Now, where some of that comes back to hurt the Bulls at is that we're 28th in the league at the number of shots that we take in the paint, right? So if you're not going to take shots in the mid-range, you can still take shots in the paint, which is anything basically below the free throw line, which means that you're not right up against the basket, but you can still hit floaters. You can still hit step backs. You can still hit fadeaways, those type of things, right? Vooch in his hook shot. So while the Chicago Bulls actually, in paint, we were 28th in paint frequency, but get this, we're 8th in the league in paint field goal shooting percentage, which means, again, the spacing is there because teams are playing the Bulls for the drive. They're expecting the Bulls to either go all the way to the paint, which means, all the way to the restricted area. So it means even the area that's not mid-range but considered more is still closer to the rim. That area has been really efficient for the Chicago Bulls. We're hitting that at a 45.9% clip. That's the 8th best in the entirety of the NBA. What does that say? When you look at it, we are hitting mid-range shots at almost a 58% clip. I'm sorry, a 48%. Oh no, 50% clip. We're hitting in the paint shots at an almost 46% clip. We should be doing that more. I get it. I'm a very heavy analytical driven person. And I don't want my coach to be driven completely by analytics either. But when your offense is stagnating and you can clearly see something is happening, and this goes back to, in my opinion, the fact that we don't move enough without the ball. When you have these things that continually hurt your team and hold you back, it is your job as a coach to figure out, all right, where can we kind of create some things at for this team? You can do that. Coby can get to the paint and shoot. Josh Giddey can get to the paint and shoot, right? So, Josh Giddey's missed some games and he's going to miss another week, but those are the things that you want to look at. And those are the things that hurt your team. And when we talk about things like it's not all Billy Donovan, but some of it is, that's what you're starting to look at when it comes down to that. And so, listen, if I'm doing this with synergy and with the tools at my disposal, I know for 100% fact the Chicago Bulls have analytics department that should be feeding this to your coaches and saying, hey, the mid-range and the paint are open for y'all. Stop just settling for threes or just going into the restricted area. Get that mid-game going a little bit, and our offense can open up some. That should be the job. But Billy Donovan doesn't want us to take mid-range shots, and therefore, that's what's happening right now for the Chicago Bulls. That is what's holding the Chicago Bulls back. And, I just don't know if I have faith that they're going to actually fix that part of the game. I would love to say that they will and that they will eventually. But let's see. But even with that saying, the Bulls are still 6-4 in their last 10. They're 2 games below 500. They sit in the 9th seed in the Eastern Conference, and it's a place that we've been very familiar with as Chicago Bulls fans, right? We finished the season last year 2 games below 500, and as the 9th seed. So there you go for whatever that's worth for you guys. Like, I know there are going to be a segment of Bulls fans that are about to take that and run with it. So let me know what you guys think on that down below. Last topic before we get out of here, I want to talk about Tre Jones. Tre Jones is proving himself to be an important weapon for the Chicago Bulls, but I want to double back. I want to talk about how important he's been for the Bulls, but I also want to double back on what we heard a couple of weeks ago, which was that Tre Jones was one of the Bulls that could garner, or that was expected to really be one of the most attractive pieces at the trade deadline. Now, that was met with Bulls fans that were like, oh, no, we can't let Tre go, and I understand that for sure, right? When you look at Tre and the way that he's been playing this season, he's averaging 12.1 points per game, 5.3 assists, 1.3 steals per game as well. He's shooting 50% from the floor. Now, while he does pass up some open three-point shots sometimes because that's just not his game, you look at somebody who is still young, like Trae Young. I said Trae Young. Tre Jones. Tre Jones, not Trae Young. We don't want Trae Young on this team. Tre Jones, right? And he's playing an important role. He's become one of the most reliable Bulls. He signed an 3-year, $24 million flat contract with the Bulls, meaning it's $8 million each and every year, no raises or anything like that. And when you look at when we've had players like Coby sideline, Josh Giddey sideline, Tre Jones has stepped up in different ways to help this team win basketball games, right? And so when you hear the things of like that, Coby White and the interest that could be there, I would assume when the interest that could be there, I want to be clear here. Tre Jones is a weapon for this Bulls team, and he is a really good player for this Bulls team. When you look at the per dollar that you're getting on return that you're getting on Tre Jones with his production, it's great. It puts him in a really great place, right? But I do want to be clear here. Tre Jones could also be a key trade piece for the Chicago Bulls, a very key trade piece for the Chicago Bulls team. When you look at the fact that the $8 million that he makes can make him a really good draw for most teams. Most teams can take that contract, no problem. It's flat. He has 2 years left on his contract after this one, with the last year being a team option. That's a very friendly deal for teams that they could look when they take advantage of it. Tre Jones is one of the best bargain deals in the NBA right now. Easily attainable money-wise. The Bulls could actually, because he is the money's not a problem, the Bulls could actually ask for picks back in that case, especially if it's a playoff team where the picks are expected to be in the low 20s. That's where the Bulls could really take advantage at. If the Bulls plan on re-signing Ayo and Coby, if they do, right? If they decide to do that, Tre Jones could be one of the pieces that the Bulls do dangle for either draft capital or trying to find another defensive piece or whatever else it is. I know it's not ideal, and I know that the Bulls fans have really come on to liking Tre Jones over the stretch. Hell, I just said it. I love Tre Jones. I love what he brings to this team, but you can't deny the trade potential that could be there and the interest that could be there in Tre Jones when you look at the number of teams that are going to be interested in point guards. That's a place, and that goes back to AK taking advantage and actually playing the market into his benefit. Now, will he do that? I highly doubt it. When we've seen what we've seen from AK, he's not going to play or trade a player that's been playing as well as what Tre Jones has been playing for this Bulls team. I just highly doubt that. But at the same time, I do think that there are going to be some interesting conversations to be made. I know Bulls fans, well, how are we going to trade Trey? We should trade P. Will. We should trade Vooch. Understand what value means. You'd have to give up something to get those, to trade those guys. And maybe one could say that with the value contract of Tre Jones in the years left, maybe you can attach one of those contracts in Vooch or Patrick Williams. Probably not P. Will because of the years left on it, but maybe you can attach a less attractive contract to it because of Tre Jones, a reasonable contract. And that's what you have to look at as well. Now, that's going to affect your pick compensation coming back, but that is something that you can look into as well. And we'll see if the Bulls explore that. But Tre Jones, important piece for the Bulls, and an important piece maybe at the trade deadline as well. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. That's going to do it for today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you never miss a single episode as well. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should the Bulls move Tre Jones, re-sign Coby, both, neither? How you guys feeling in regards to that? As always, make sure you're following us at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.